Monster is about a 17-year-old black kid from Harlem who is accused of being involved in a robbery that turns into a murder. And the film essentially looks at this idea of could one decision, one moment in your life define your whole life, as we watch Steve Harmon defend himself against this murder charge. And it's through that lens that we look at the criminal justice system, mass incarceration, the social pressures that kids go through in the streets, and sort of how our laws are written.
I auditioned for this movie in February, and that's when I initially read that script, and I just remember the opening and you know, that's not me, that, you know, that all that stuff, and he's seeing all these people, and he's like, he couldn't find the right match for who he was, and I identified with that, but I was like, I can't play that guy. You know, it's like he's just way too, I didn't feel like I was ready yet, but then I Skyped Anthony, and I remember he told me, like, you know, all your insecurities, all your doubts, all your fears about approaching this role and tackling it is everything that Steve needs. You know what I mean? It's everything that Steve is going to go through. He's just as vulnerable and uncertain as you are, and embrace that and allow that to just kind of breathe through your performance. And that gave me the validation and the empowerment that I needed to tackle on that role.
When you're adapting a book as prestigious as this, you know, it's sold 2 million copies, it's read all over the country in high schools, and it's widely regarded as sort of, you know, one of the most important books in this category. We wanted to honor Walter Dean Meyers, you know, and his work. So as you bring an unusually, it's told in a screenplay format, so when you bring that to the screen, and you obviously have to transition it into what works in a film. So that was the first challenge. The second one was making sure that we ticked every box of authenticity, you know, and when it comes to sort of, you know, putting Rocky in the film, or allowing an actor like Kelvin to sort of dive deep into the New York culture so that he disappears into that sort of character, even though he's from New Orleans. You know, the movie is told in 3 time frames. So creating that tapestry, that perfect balance that keeps the audience essentially in the dark of what's happening, and just feeding them small bits of information, to sort of how those trains collide at the end of the movie. That really was the biggest challenge of the film.
Without sounding too harsh, I think, like, sometimes as a black male in America, I just feel like the prison system is just injustice, and it's kind of like set up for us to be in there, go back in, then die. And you know, 80% of, like, most of the people I know are in jail, you know. And for those who didn't go to jail, they all have a story like mine's or Kelvin's, and not everybody has the opportunity, you know, to have a gift like music or acting. My best advice to myself as a younger me, or just the kids that are younger, is to be aware that, you know, all of these problems exist. I hope that people who don't know about it, who's oblivious to it, or, you know, don't deal with it every day, I hope that it raises awareness, because there's a lot of fucked up things going on in the world, and not one man can do it by himself. And this movie is just, I think, one step further to understanding, you know, and it's out of all our hands. And best advice is just, you know, be strong, because it's not built for us to win.